men, and I use the term in a manly way today. Hey, welcome back.
Okay, let's get a little bit caught up with the Khronicles project here. These are the rods. I just wire brushed them off a little bit on a wire wheel just to knock the chunks off the outside. Put them in the parts washer, and I just came in from the dirty shop, and I lapped the races just very lightly. They just looked a little glazed over. It doesn't look like they were, bad or really worn to any extent. But I just wanted to put a little bit of a frosty gray even finish on the inside. Literally just a dozen passes, very light over the lapping tool. Not a big deal. Okay, let's do the calculation for figuring out the approximate roller size. So I'll get the diameter of the pin. I got about 1.2485. Let's get the diameter of the rods, the rod races. And I know this is not a precision device. This is just to get me a rough ballpark as to where to start. Do I want to start with a .0008 over roller or a .0002 over roller? So I'm coming up with a 1.62. 1.625. Let's check the other rod and see if it's in the same ballpark. I'm coming up with about the same, 1.625. So we're in the same ballpark. And just FYI, when I lap these, which these just came out from being lapped, I adjust the lap to whatever, to a size, and I'll lap one and then I'll lap the other one without changing the dimension of the lap. So they should be very close to the same. Okay, let's do the calculation for the desired roller size. We'll start with the race minus the pin. Gives me a difference between the two of 0.3765. We're going to subtract 1,000 from that. That's the desired clearance, 1,000th of an inch. Then we're going to take that number and divide it by 2. That's what size roller I want. All right, I got a package of .0002 over rollers. I never open more than one of these at a time so I don't get them mixed up. Let's just pick one and see what it looks like. 002 might be very close. We're going to grease up a bearing race and give it a try. Let's see how the pin fits. Wow. That feels almost perfect. I think we're right there. Let me show you one of the things I do when I'm putting a set of flywheels together. Here's a cross section of the flywheel in the area of the crank pin taper. The crank pin, of course, goes in here, and the threads on the crank pin are, of course, over here. What I find on old flywheels is that the crank pin, after 20, 30, 40 years of being drawn in, wears a little step on the shoulder of the flywheel. And my concern is that when I put these flywheels together, the shoulder on the crank pin is going to hit this little artificial shoulder on the flywheel. So what I do is I go in with the Dremel tool and I grind this out so that the flywheel does not obstruct the crank pin from being drawn in. You want it to be able to go in fully and seat all along this area. If the shoulder causes it to stop short, you might not get good seating all the way around. Do you have to do it? I don't know. It just seems like something that's a good idea to me. And that one's good. The lip is gone. All right. We're going to start putting these flywheels back together again. Everything's been cleaned up. Checked the torque. I did not take the pinion shaft or the sprocket shaft out. I did put a torque wrench on them. Set it to 150 pounds. These didn't move. I'm just leaving them be. I checked the run out while they were bolted to the flywheels, and they're damn near perfect, so just leaving it be. When it comes to the crank pin and the sprocket shaft and the pinion shaft, I like the tapers perfectly clean and perfectly dry. I either use rubbing alcohol or something like brake cleaner on them just to get all the oil residue off. I don't put Loctite, I don't put anything between the crank pin and the wheel. The smallest imperfection, of course, will interfere with the seating of the tapers. Okay, right now the wrench is set to 130. I'm going to test fit the lock plate, see how I line up, and take it up in increments to the, get my lock plate to line up. I got about another half a hole, so to speak. Got about a quarter of a hole. The torque wrench is set at 140. I'll just go all the way to 150 and move it a little bit. Should be pretty close. Okay, hole lines up perfectly. I'm going to call that good. We're going to put the screw and tighten it down. I'm not a real big fan of Loctite. There's only a couple of places I use it. As you notice, I didn't use it on the crank pin nut. I mean, good Lord, it's torqued to 150 foot-pounds. I do use it on these little screws, though. I got to go fetch a lock plate for the pinion shaft nut. And that's that. I got the rollers on a piece of paper because I got these cheap-ass rags and they're very linty and lint gets caught in the grease. So the piece of paper will allow for a cleaner installation. You know, these things have been handled several times now, and I'm always very relieved when I get to the last one and find out that I didn't lose any, because losing one would suck. The long ones are there. Fun facts to know and tell. Iron heads have 17 rollers. Evos have 16. Well, 17 rollers per segment. Not a lot to say about this. Just keep it clean. Keep it clean and don't lose any. And I don't know why, but this particular bag had one extra in it. I noticed it when I was test fitting. You know, that's pretty much useless. Alright, all the rollers are in. All these parts have been cleaned and cleaned again. Alright, that's that. Nice brake cleaner to get all the grease off of the pin. And what I do with these is this. Line them up at the straight edge. That looks pretty good. Got them lined up with a straight edge. Got a couple of pieces of channel. I got a heavy piece of steel welded on one side so they don't bow when I tighten a nut. The sides that touch the flywheel have all been milled so they're flat and parallel. Give this a little snug. And I back the torque wrench off to about 60, 70, something like that. That's 70. Just enough torque to hold them in place, and we'll stick them on a trig stand and see how we make out for the first attempt. Here's the first toss in the stand. +2, down to what, about -8. And then back around to +2. So these are out by 10 thousandths. Here's where we're ending up. Everything is torqued. The hole in the lock plate lines up. Just about 1/1000th of an inch. That's as good as I could get this one. I've been futzing with it for a while. I'm going to call that good.
And with that, I am out of here. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.